Hi, this is Ron Dzinski once again. I'm the founder of Beyond PTSD. I started talking about anger, and I realized that this thing is really a lot bigger subject than everybody seems to have responded to it. I'm sure you've all heard of the term flight or fight. This becomes an issue, especially guys coming out of the military. If you've been in a war situation, there's no such thing as flight. You have to stand and deliver, and so that means you have to fight. So when a threat comes along, you have to deal with it, immediately go into an attack mode so that you can stay alive, I suppose is the best way to say it. We have the flight or the fight, and now we've got mostly fight. Now you come out of the military, the flight has been quelled or at least tamped down, and now you have fight. So what we need to figure out a way to do is not necessarily add, just running away from everything, which is certainly an option. You can walk away from problems too. But mostly have a little space in between where there's a pause or deliberation. So we're trying to increase that time between, action and reaction. And if we can put a time in there where you can contemplate whether it's a threat or not is really the ideal situation. And that means with your mate or your significant other or with some stranger who happens to, honk at you in a car, or somebody who cuts you off on a road, on a street where you go into road rage or something. We need to have that moment of time to contemplate, is this a threat that's worth going to the mat for? And that's where the counting to 10 or the letting it pause for a second before you react. This is a common occurrence, especially for somebody who's been through a trauma, that the brain has now got, there's a primitive part of the brain that is called upon when in fact this issue comes up. And that primitive part of the brain says, oh, I'm sorry I missed that terrible thing that you just went through, but it'll never happen again. And so it gets hyper alert, hyper vigilant, and starts to gather information that might in fact be a threat. Whether it's it smelled like the same smell I had when I was attacked, or I heard that just before the attack, so it might be something we should worry about. Everybody's got the same basic instinct, that they've got this hyper alert system that can be stirred up, and the problem is you can't turn it off when it starts to stir up. It stirs and stirs. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse. When you did that, the first thing you were doing was you got up and turned off all the lights. Well, you better start turning off all the lights now, because it could be the same kind of a situation. You wonder why you blow up over the smallest things. Well, it could be unrelated, but it's kind of lumped in with this thing that you've already established for yourself to try to protect from some bigger event. And if you've not gotten yourself into a situation where you're able to unload some of this stuff, it becomes like this kettle that I've talked about several times, where you have this steam that builds up and builds up and builds up. And if in fact you didn't have a whistle to let some of it off, that pot would eventually blow up, be like a bomb. And that's what happens to us. We let it go and we don't talk about it, and you don't talk to your mate about it, and you don't talk about your significant other about it, and you don't tell them what's going on. You want to keep it from them, protect them from it, for fear that they're going to not accept you or think less of you or something. It's just the absolute opposite is the case. The absolute opposite. Your mate wants you to get better. They want it to be like it used to be. They're your best ally. They're the ones that you can really trust with the secrets that you may not be able to tell anybody else. And I'm telling you that this is what you need to start to do. Open up to certain trusted loved ones. Your family, your friends, let them hear some of these things. But just some of the smaller things that are on the outside that may in fact relieve some of this pressure. The fight or flight is the issue right now that you have to start to figure out. You can't just pretend that it's not there. I told you before about this. What I used to do, I was so afraid of my anger that I would not at all let it come out. And what happened was, you think that, okay, well, if I can just get the bad things and to keep them contained, then all the good feelings will then be able to shine through. And just the absolute opposite is true. All the feelings start to get involved. So things that you used to really, really enjoy, you don't enjoy quite as much. The passions that you once had, you're not as passionate about. All the funny things that you used to laugh about, they're not as funny. So the feelings and the emotions get all mixed up and confused. I used to think to myself, I'm all topsy-turvy on this thing. Things that I should be just angry as I could be about, I would rationalize and talk it through and rationalize I don't want to get involved because I know if I blow up, it'll be terrible. And then things that didn't even matter, I would blow up and explode. It was all upside down. So until you start to trust yourself that you can let it out and get it more contained and more, more secure, that you understand what you're going through, have some signals that you can give each other that to try to defuse the situation, walk away from things if you can walk away from them. Give yourself a few minutes to cool down before you confront and make a comment that you think is appropriate. Usually it's not appropriate. You wish that you hadn't said it, but sometimes you've ruined the friendship or you've ruined the a perfectly, wonderful relationship you might have with your spouse. So this is going to probably crop up more and more, and people will have reactions. So this is the way you can reach me. This is Beyond PTSD. It's a thing that you can subscribe to that means that you're a member and you like to come back and see it. A lot of times it doesn't cost you anything, doesn't mean anything. But it has to be a subscription that you have to kind of get involved with. So subscribe to the website, share it, tell us what you like, what you don't like, invite your friends because that's the way this will grow. I told you that, this is an issue that it's only PTSD. I've run into two to three people in the last couple of days that I think I'm going to ask to come up and maybe do a guest speak here because I think they have some things that are worth saying, worth talking about, different than things I've talked about, but, certainly worth talking about. And, if I can do that, there'll be some guest speakers I'll introduce them to make things better for you. So it's good talking with you again. I love you all. Bye.